Hey everyone, it's me, Crystal and Mitchell, and I see that y'all been watching the story times, and I'm glad that and I'm hoping that you're enjoying it. Although, like I said, it's a Stephen King kind of story. I'm talking about how I started having these dreams all of a sudden, which has been about 11 years. How God had my spiritual encounter with God. How I wrote about a psychologist. Ended up, it was like in February 2017. Finished writing. It took me like 7 months to write it. I made it to be continued. And so I ended up meeting a psychologist in October. So I didn't really go into depth about the second person. I told you that I manifested two separate people uh, within two books, which I know. I wish I could make this up. I really, really wish. I said this. I'm walking by faith and not by sight, honey. God got me over here in the battlefield right now. So, so second book. Um, as the people was my publishers was working on my book, so let me go back. I sent so I was procrastinating. By the time I meet the psychologist on the game Words with Friends, and after I found out he was a psychologist, it's like he started pushing me to, because I was like, I wrote my book, I'm just trying to, and I didn't even know he was a psychologist, at first. And so I was like, I've written my book, I just have to have it copywritten and send it off to publishers. And that's when he was like, and I was like, I've been procrastinating because he wanted me to go through Create Space. And I was like, I was going to check it out. And then, like, a couple days later, he asked if I did it. And I was like, I was procrastinating. That's when he's like, if you look me up, you said have a chapter on Don't Procrastinate. And that's when I looked him up. And that's when I realized he was a psychologist. So I was thinking, what's the odds? So after that, he was pushing me. So I sent my book off, found 5 publishers because I did some uh, studying on, how to, what is the steps of doing this, because, I don't know nobody. I didn't know anyone at the time that was an author to ask, and so I was looking it up, and it was like that the rejection letters was, some was off the chain. They would tell you it was horrible, some you wouldn't even hear from them. So, I'm ready for rejections, just so I could be like, God, at least I tried it, you know what I'm saying? And I was just waiting on anything to stop me from becoming this author. Because, this is my life story that I absolutely do not want to tell people. You know what I'm saying? But God's like, I had to do it. So I'm like, okay. And so sent it off. A day or two later, my publishers ended up emailing me. It was like they loved my story, loved to bring to print. So I ran from them for about a month. I mean, they was blowing my phone up. I would have my daughter answer the phone, acting like I wasn't there and stuff like that. And then months down the line, somebody else ended up emailing me, but I was already with someone. So during this time, while they working on that, I'm starting on my second book because it's to be continued, right? So as I'm writing, I stops. Me and him, we still communicating and stuff like that, but I stopped writing because it was time for me to talk about the death of my brother. And I absolutely did not want to talk about it. You know what I'm saying? And I stopped for weeks. And I had went to the daycare to pick my children up, and I had on the way home got behind this car and the license plate read book 2. And I even took a picture and I sent it to him because I was like, you gotta keep going. You gotta keep going. So I knew that I had to face it. You know what I'm saying? But during this time, God's talking about book 2. Okay, I'm gonna do it my way. This is what you want. I'm about to do it. I'm not about to sugarcoat nothing. And at that moment, I truly believe God's like, go on and give it to him. So that's what I did. And so I needed a lawyer and a detective for the second book. You know what I'm saying? Because I need the rest of my brother's stuff that we have not received. And I need for them both to help me to try to bring this night together. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I still holding on to it. And guess who I meet? Boom, a lawyer. And I'm just like, oh, God's he's really looking out for me. Look at him. Look at him. He's granting me everything. But like I said, them dreams started happening. And then it's like, boom, they not there to help you. They not there to help you. For real, you know what he was, but just for that moment. And I'm just like, So I got these two people. And so, like I said, I'm telling him these things that I'm noticing. I'm waking up and I'm telling him, I had this dream about the snake and I'm getting bit, but it was a woman snake, a female and a male snake. But I figured the woman was her, the snake, but I was jumping out his window, so I just couldn't understand. Why is it that but he's always at a different state, but my friends was always like, one of my friends was like, are you sure they do not know each other? Because, she knew about this Monopoly money. And then, after that, after he told me, don't be around after God had woke me up to be like, gave me that sign, new, he hit me in my spurs so bad. And so, shortly after that, I want to say that following year, I had to go to LA. I was supposed to do something. You gotta check that video out if you didn't. What she meant for evil, God turned around for good. When a woman stood me up and how I went to LA and I ran into the people in the film industry. And I always mention that because that most definitely, oh man, that moment, man. Yeah, that moment was most definitely God looking out. So I gotta give the glory to him. And so, he wanted to come to LA, actually invited himself. And so, and then after we left there, he just act like he got amnesia. Like he don't know me, don't know nothing. I mean, I'm just like, and and then like I said, one of the emails he was like non-fiction and fictional psychologists and stuff like that. And and this song right here, it's this Kendrick Lamar, right? I don't know if you can hear it. Stop playing with me before I turn you to a song. Stop playing with me before I turn you to a song. He say, stop playing with me before I turn you into a song. And that's how I be feeling. You know what I'm saying? You're idiotic, Stop playing with me before I turn you into a character in one of my books. And that's exactly what I did. So while he was going through that, right, I'm like, oh, okay. Now you want to act like that and amnesia. So I figured this would be a perfect timing to basically help remind him into I'm letting my fans as well know, you know what I'm saying? I've been holding it a secret, not on LinkedIn. I told you I've been showing out on there, but that's because I'm thinking we're going to get this done over with. And I'm like, Lord, I'm not trying to take this into another year. Like, I'm ready to really get this done and over with. And so, I figured this would be a great time to, you want to be relevant, then, let's introduce you to the world since you want to be relevant. So I got this, it's called, his book, Manifested Only to Destroy. So it's basically my experience. Now, you know that anytime you got to jump in a book as your own self, as your real self, then you done messed up. You done messed up, and I'm half hood and half holy. And I think the people that really know me, I think they probably gonna like this Crystal. I might have to name this book Crystal Mitchell instead of Crystal Ann Mitchell. And which I told you God's working on me. And so and it's crazy because the cover of my book, I would want it to be 2 books. And it's crazy because God had gave me this vision. 2 books on the Grail. They're gonna be huge and they're gonna be open. So they're gonna be open like this. I don't know if you see it. So it's gonna be open like this, and then I want 2 cobras coming out of the book. And there's one on this side and one on that side for him and her. And then after that, I want I have to be standing in front of him, just like the David and Goliath, basically, and with a sword in my hand. And I want Romans 8:31, for God is for you, who can be against you? And then the Bible in the other hand, because I got a battle. So I said I'm in the battlefield. God got me over there. Oh, Lord have mercy. So I figured, in this book I call him Dr. Ahab. So, since there's a lot of amnesia going on, I figure I can help to remind him. He didn't know what hotel we was at. I think it was the Clarion on Newtown Pike here in Lexington, Kentucky. He couldn't remember a lot of things, so I think I needed to remind him. So, one of these parts of my reading is, I had a neighbor. This is when we met, So I'm just skipping down in here, and these people was coming to meet me, and I'm in Cincinnati. I'm acting like I'm in Cincinnati doing a book signing. So it says, I had a neighbor drive me to Cincinnati and drop me off at my hotel. I waited. I waited for him to leave his hotel to come to mine, and I was so nervous, anxious, and excited to finally meet the man that I've been communicating with for 8 months. We met. He kind of was not the man that I envisioned, although I seen pictures of him. I don't know if that sounds weird. I really can't explain it. I had ordered his book and brought it with me for him to sign. Before going to get something to eat and coming back to my hotel room, Dr. Ahab would drive me around showing me the school he attended, where he stayed, and used to hang out, etc. Him ruminating about his past seems to bring joy to his life. The next morning, we checked out of my hotel, and headed to his hotel where I would stay. When I walked into his hotel room, I stopped in my tracks as the door closed. I told him that he was OCD. He tried playing it off and asked me what would make me think that. I told him because of his car being very clean, him having wipes and paper towels inside, and him having his hotel remote in a Ziploc bag. My eyes widened and my heart started pounding because this sounds like Colin she's describing. So it's the other girl that's coming into it. Hey, I ain't gonna lie, man. This book, dog, I ain't even, man. And so, and if you look up under my I got my sample. So if you look at that, it's like coming into with this one. It got a sample of my new project. So that's what it is. Basically, the girl is talking to me as well. So my eyes widened, my heart started pounding because this sounds like Colin she's describing. I couldn't believe what I'm hearing. I looked over my shoulder again to see if the two of them were coming, but didn't see them. I turned my attention back to Crystal, taking in every word she was saying. The next morning, so now I'm talking, the next morning, we left to go get breakfast, and the housekeeper was pushing the linen cart. The housekeeper pushing excuse me, I ain't got my glasses. I done broke them and then I lost it, and I'm just sitting up here, my other person back in Florida. The next morning we left to go eat breakfast, and the housekeeper pushed the linen cart, and the linen cart had picked up some linen that had fallen off the cart right before we were exiting the hotel. This young man picked up the linen and placed them back on the cart, and instantly I thought to myself, oh Lord, he's going to think those is going to be the linens he gets. As soon as we walked out the door, he headed to his car. At the door, headed to his car, he said, watch those be the linens I get. And I started laughing. I asked him, why did I know you was thinking that? He had a serious look on his face, which caused me to stop laughing. Just imagine, meet someone, by the third day you observe someone just off their car and walking into the hotel room. After eating breakfast, he drops me off in my hotel where my friend was to pick me back up at. I believe the next day or two he was coming to Lexington to spend 2 days there before flying back to Cali. After my neighbor picked me up from my hotel, the whole ride back to Lexington, I was slumped in the passenger side seat sad. She knew something was wrong because I was happy going to Cincinnati and sad leaving. So then chapter 64. When I got back home, Dr. Ahab and I would communicate on the phone while I was still in Cincinnati. He came down the next day, but I waited until the following day to spend the night with him. I had my sister keep my children, but earlier that day I ordered pizza and asked him if he wanted some. He did, so when the kids and I picked up the pizza, I stopped by the hotel to give him the pizza before dropping them off. Instead of me coming up, he met us outside, which I wasn't ready for him to meet my children. He had some donuts and gave them to them, and I was kind of mad because now they're eating the donuts in the car, getting glazed everywhere. I told him that I would be back later that night. Night had fallen, and I was on my way to see Dr. Ahab. My sister asked me to ask him if she could have an autographed book. When I got to his hotel, I asked, and he had extra books and signed a book for her. We continued to communicate while lying in the bed. Somehow we got in a conversation about his father, and this man's eyes started watering, lips shivering, basically crying about how his father treated him. His father wanted him to become a lawyer just like him, but Dr. Ahab wanted to become a psychologist. He just wanted his father to be proud of him, which he wasn't. As he was pouring out his hurt, I started holding him, patting his back. In my mind, I'm thinking, he's a little whiny. This is our fourth day seeing each other. And here it is, he's already crying. I'm not saying a man can't cry, but that was too soon. I knew then that his father had hurt him by not supporting him and being there for him. I knew then that when they say that a two-parent household is more healthier than a one, ain't always true. He came from a two-parent household and seemed more damaged than me. I knew then I couldn't deal with the OCD and the whininess. I knew couldn't see no future with him, so there I was pretending that everything was okay between the two of us. Meanwhile, I couldn't wait for morning to come so I could leave. I couldn't believe my ears. So this is the girl coming in. I can't believe my ears. I'm literally convinced at this moment that Colin and Dr. Ahab at this moment that what are the odds of both psychologists being OCD and being heard by their father? But Colin is doing his clinicals now while Dr. Ahab is already a psychologist. This is really strange. So when he got home, did you tell him? Beth asked. Ha 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 ha. I did. He called and I told him how I didn't think we would work because he was OCD. He insisted that he was not. A few days later, I ended up Googling the word germaphobe and I told him that's what he was. I told him that I had small boys and that I couldn't be with no one that was a germaphobe. He replied back saying that it was okay because before the boys came into the house from playing, we would just spray them down with our water hose. With the water hose. Of course, right after he said that, he made it clear that he was only joking. Dr. Ahab then went on to tell me how he did all the cleaning and how his soon-to-be ex-wife, Billie Jean, which he calls Jean, did all the cooking. He reinformed that it wouldn't be a problem because he just enjoyed cleaning. Maybe I'm just being too picky. After all, God brought him into my life, so I guess I have to accept it. I didn't mention to him how I felt that he was whiny because he did open up to me about things in his life, just like I opened up to him about things in my life over the months of us communicating. I just figured that maybe he was just comfortable sharing his emotions with me and probably had no one else to really be himself around. I had already made it plain and clear that he puts his pants on just like me. And just because I'm a nurse aide doesn't mean that I look at him as God due to him having a PhD. So, yeah, right there is meanwhile, I was going back and forth with my publishers and working on my second book. We continued to talk. He would send me money to get an extra iPhone so we could FaceTime each other. We upgraded from exchanging sex stories to phone sex, and he was ready to fly me out to California in August. I'd never been on a plane before, and was scared. I asked him if he would fly here and then fly back to Cali with me. He agreed. He asked what days would I like to come, and I figured should go for my brother Laraz's birthday. to turn that day into a happy memory. So this is for Dr. Ahab. Story time for Dr. Ahab, since he can't really remember anything. So I figured, this is for my fans. You know, it's this story right here. It's I treat this book as more like look at it more like fighting. The beginning of the book, you know, squaring up. The middle of the book is the throwing the hands. This ending of the book, oh, it's fatality moves. You hear me? Oh man, I think I'm gonna go down as the Mortal Kombat author. So for my fans, I want you to know I'm trying to work. I'm trying to work. And this is very therapeutic. I figure I just throw you in a story and just in a book and just destroy you. And I got this book to be continued. So anyone that loves, my writing and my stories and stuff like that, I got it to be continued for the next person that want to play with me. Like Kendrick Lamar said, keep playing with me and I'll put you in a song. Keep playing with me, I'm gonna put you in a book. But yeah, so yeah, Dr. Ahab, and I got the name Dr. Ahab, and then I named her Jezebel because of in Kings how, and I would want y'all to read Kings, First Kings chapter 21, Naboth's vineyard. But yeah, the characteristics is very very similar. I figure, and they say your story may be the only Bible somebody reading. Basically, like I said, he remind me of Saul too. You know, he's successful. I'm not successful, but uh, your enemies will let you know who you are before you really know. So them two really did let me know that there's something really into me, and you know, since they want to be relevant, know about people in the book and stuff like that, I figure too. Let's tell the world about you two, sneaky people. And so yeah. And I also want to state and let you all know too that when we did leave California, LA, like shortly after he got in a car wreck, and then after that he had told me, battling with the health issues. So God's already turned him up. So it ain't too much. I just tell God to please keep his man sane. Please keep him sane, cause he got to watch me. He gotta watch me while God prepare that table. Cause you can't go around, like I say, getting in God's way. So yeah. So Dr. Ahab, now I gotta tell the world how you a germaphobe and how I had to be your psychologist. Since you won't play around. And I think next I keep, you know, thinking that we gonna get it on the go. I guess I'll keep on, and it's crazy because I really don't want to do this, but I mean I can't, and I guess I'm waiting. Next, in a little while.